This is City Post Church.
We're about three things:
build, equipped, and send.
All under the lordship of Jesus Christ.
A small church plant in Fort Worth, Texas,
who decided to do things a little differently.
Adoramos a Jesucristo.
I love City Post because of the people.
It's where I belong.
We truly preach the word.
I love City Post because of the community we've been able to build.
To do ministry like Jesus, for light to push back darkness.
This is City Post Podcast.
Oh, now, just to get into it, how and when did you meet Ricky?
Great question. I love telling this story. How in the world did I meet Ricky? How in the world did Ricky get me?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You'll say the other way around. But Ricky and I met for the very first time in 2004. We were both attending UT Arlington. We were both a part of the Baptist Student Ministry, the BSM, that ministers to college students there on campus. And we were in a pretty cool group of the BSM. We were asked to be on the leadership team, which is a group of about 40 college students that help lead various parts of the BSM, mainly leading Bible studies. So we met at the Ice Chest. We were in a gym for the leadership retreat for the group of leaders that were going to be leaders for that year. And we met there in the church that we were using for our retreat. And it was like break time. And there was a table of snacks and there was an ice chest of drinks for us during our break. And I remember meeting him there. And that was our first conversation, our first hello. And I had a boyfriend at the time, my high school sweetheart, that I dated for way too long. Okay. He was at A&M. You know, he was an Aggie, super smart. Yeah. But we were in a long-distance relationship because I was at UT Arlington, he was at A&M. Even though we were dating, boyfriend-girlfriend, we were certainly college students who, we were young and we were still exploring who are we, what do we want to do with our lives. We weren't stuck to each other like we had to go to the same college and had to have the same plan. So we were in a long-distance relationship, but I met Ricky in this fall of 2004. So we became friends. Basically, my friends became friends with his friends, and we would hang out. And then it really kicked off the summer of 2005. My white girlfriends, his Hispanics friends, and him, we would hang out together in the summertime, going out to eat. But one of our favorite things to do was to go salsa dancing. Because as you know, Ricky's from Puerto Rico, so he's naturally a good salsa dancer. And when we would go salsa dancing, as a group of friends, I would always be the first one willing to get up and dance with him. I have no history of salsa dancing, but ballet is what I did from second grade up until even maybe now, you could say. So I had that confidence and was willing to get out there on the dance floor with him. Our favorite place to go as a group of friends would be Gloria's Restaurant in either Dallas or Arlington or Fort Worth, because come 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, they clear out the dining tables and have a live salsa band play. So that was our favorite place. And one night in summer of 2005, we are dancing together like we did as friends. But there was something different. I blamed the Dolce & Gabbana cologne.
Okay.
And because that stuff smells so good, it changes people's minds. And so, guys, it matters. The cologne matters. And I blamed the cologne and his dancing skills and spinning me around. So when we left that night in our own cars with our friends, I said, "You better call me." So 2 days later.
2 days later?
He called me. Yes, wow. He made me wait.
What a guy.
And then he calls me 2 days later, and he said, "You better call me." So 2 days later, he calls me. Yes, he made me wait. What a guy. And then he calls me 2 days later, and he said, "You better call me." And then he calls me 2 days later, and he said, "You better call me." So 2 days later, he calls me 2 days later, and he is just having regular conversation, just regular get to know you conversation, telling me about his childhood, how he used to play football. He would talk about he used to be in a fraternity and he was so glad he wasn't anymore. Just get to know you conversation. And he's like about to end the phone call. And I say, wait a minute, we need to talk about the other night. Were we just, dancing like we normally do, or what was that?
Yeah.
So he made me tell him first, basically, that I was interested in him.
Okay, so you made the first moves, majority at the time.
But did I make the first moves? Prompted by him. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I feel like he has a lot of game.
He's playing chess.
He has a lot of game, so that's how he got me. But I fell for it, thankfully.
Is he? Do you think he's a little different now than when you met him? Because he's college.
Yes.
And now he's older.
He's more educated.
Yeah.
He's gotten a master's degree since then. But he's still so fun and sweet and thoughtful and silly. So, we met when we were 25 we got married when we were 25 and 26 and met 3 years before that. So I have gotten to see him grow and mature. But he was a man when I met him.
Yeah.
And I think he's still the same.
And what point in your relationship did he approach you to his idea to start or plant a church?
Okay, good question. And he knows I'm going to say this. Ricky was supposed to be a youth director.
Yeah, at YMCA, right?
He was supposed to be working with youth. When we met, and I started going to church with him in Fort Worth, he was working with the youth group, and his parents had worked with the youth group forever. And were in youth ministry and very strong in youth ministry. And Ricky was a youth volunteer, taught Sunday school, always hanging out with the youth group. So naturally, I had been an intern at my home church in Tyler with the youth group for the first 2 years of college. So that was an easy transition for me when I started dating Ricky, that I joined him in youth ministry. So that's what he was going to be. And he even went to seminary to be a youth director. He has a degree in Christian education with an emphasis in youth ministry. So that's what I was expecting. And he does such a good job with teenagers. He gets on their level. He's just as silly and goofy and fun as they are. He's got a bachelor's degree in rec and leisure studies. So very good with the games and getting people together. So, beginning of relationship, I was expecting a youth director. Now, fast forward to, 2016. That's when this idea of pastor came about for him. And he had finished seminary with that youth director degree. But at the same time, after finishing seminary, he felt the call to pastor. So it was 2016. We had been married since 2008. Elena was 1 year old, and he got asked to be an associate pastor at a church here in Fort Worth that was small and that was needing and had a pastor, but was needing an associate pastor for help and support. So that was the first introduction to him being a pastor.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. And when y'all first started City Post, was it a little rough? 'Cause I know my example, I walked in and we were in a kindergarten gym, elementary school gym.
Yes, I remember you talking about that on, I think, the first podcast.
Yeah, because the way the old associate pastor here was Will.
Yes.
He was talking about it. I thought it was just this huge thing. And then I was the only
Good job, Will.
Yeah, I was the only one in the audience, so he did some recruiting. But going through CPOS, seeing how it is now, how was the process of it, like the grind of it a little bit?
Yes. Well, Ricky did and still does the majority of the work. As far as the workload compared between me and him. As far as the grind, it is very much on his shoulders, and I am here to support him. But to bridge the gap here, he was an associate pastor just as a volunteer, and still volunteers now, at the other church in Fort Worth that we went to. And while he was there, he felt called, hey, I'm ready to do this.
Yeah.
And not just be the associate pastor, but look at being the head pastor. And he was hoping, hey, maybe I can stay here and do that. But things weren't good and weren't as healthy as they should be. And so he knew that we needed to step away. And he said, I feel like God's calling me to plant a church. I said, okay. Which is usually my reaction to any ideas that Ricky has. I'm very secure in my marriage with him. I'm very trusting. He relies so much on the Lord that I can know anything that God's put on his heart, any ideas that he has. It's all right. It's good, and it needs to happen. And I can trust that and be fine with that. So he says, yep, I'm looking at planning a church. What do you think, Rachel? And my first reaction was, we live in the belt buckle of the Bible Belt. There sure are a lot of churches on every corner in Fort Worth. Do we really need our own? Can we be a part of another one, or whatever it may be? But he, in his own prayer time with the Lord and in seeking a lot of guidance from other pastors and from mentors in his life, it was confirmed that yes, he can do this and he needs to do this. So in doing so, he has the support of other churches, other pastors, other mentors. So basically, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
And I am happy to step into whatever role. My attitude in most aspects of my life is whatever needs to be done, I will do, especially knowing that the Lord is leading it and that Ricky feels so confident about it. But yes, there was a bunch of a grind, like you said in the beginning, because it's like we don't even have a spot to meet.
Yeah.
We need stuff. We need chairs.
It comes with money. It comes with a lot of.
Yes. We need as you know, we need to grow some money. We were in the gym at Charles Nast Elementary, and that's a rental for a couple hours on a Sunday. So everything church, all the supplies, is in our garage, and Ricky packing it in his car every Sunday afternoon and taking it up there and unloading.
Yeah, I remember having to load and unload cars.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you, San Juan.
It wasn't the funnest part, but I mean.
Yes.
It's the grind, so it's okay.
Yes, it's worth it.
And were there any really challenging parts to this whole process, or has it been like a smooth sail?
Well, Ricky makes it look easy.
Yeah.
Even to me. He is up for the challenge. He's up for the work. He doesn't complain. He doesn't whine. He loves it. So overall, the challenge is the fact that he has a full-time job. So this is at least a part-time job.
Yeah.
When you look at the hours per week, without pay, which is fine. We're all fine with that. But it's just the time constraint of he has a full-time job, adding this into his week and onto his plate, plus parenting our two girls. So as far as there hasn't been anything overwhelming or horrible or chaotic about it. It's just been the added workload of preparing for sermons, of making plans for the church, of what activities and ministries will do, of caring for the congregation. We love doing that. That is our heart. But it does take time to check on people and help take care of them. And so, as far as it being a struggle for us, it's just been the time load and managing that, and knowing that even though our marriage relationship and our parenting is 50-50, we both view it that way, that both of us carry an equal load in all of that. I've had to learn to say, well, Rachel, it's okay for you to do a little more at home, a little more with the girls. Give Ricky the time that he needs to prepare his sermons, to care for the members of the church. So that's been an adjustment for me.
Yeah.
But because of his full-time job, I only have to work part-time. So I do have that time for the house and for the girls.
Yeah, so basically your role at home is to support. What about here? Like for City Post? I know it's both ways, home and here. It's extra support, but is there anything like you particularly do here that's like essential? Because I know you're part of the core, and
yes,
like you do all the announcements, but you also don't you do the planning behind that too, like certain events, like with the women's conference recently?
Yes. So I kind of fall into that stereotypical pastor's wives role, in that I get to take care of the women of the church, which is awesome for me. Yeah. Kind of like Ricky, I grew up serving in the youth group with teenagers, so this has been a switch to get to love on and take care of adults. So the ladies of the church, they are my main thing. They are my main concern and the main ministry that I have. I would say my biggest role is the women's Bible study that's on Thursday nights. So I teach it most of the time. I'm happy to share with the other ladies that they also take turns leading the lessons. But just keeping that going, making the plans. Hey, this is whose house we're going to be at. This is what type of potluck we're going to have. Here's what we are studying. That's my main thing. Role within the church. And yes, I'm on the core team as well, so get to give input on the decisions that the church makes. And that's definitely a group effort among the core team. Like you said, birthdays mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I hope I never miss one on a Sunday.
Yeah. The spreadsheet you have is crazy.
Yes. So I pray that no matter how big we get, that we stop and celebrate birthdays and celebrate people individually, because they are that special.
And coming into all this, like you said, like some stressful parts of you saying like, oh, I'm gonna have to sacrifice certain my time, and to kind of help Ricky. In the beginning, do you ever feel like any like pressure behind that, or like, I won't say burnt out, but kind of, like you said, overwhelmed earlier? Again, like, oh, you also work in parenting and like 2 toddlers, it's not easy. And then also coming in, the pressure of having to be a pastor's wife.
Yes, that is the thing. I think that people put more pressure on, we put more pressure on pastors' wives than we do the pastor. And I'm sure it's a woman thing. And I'm sure it's because that's how women, sometimes that's how we treat each other. We can put a lot of pressure and be very judgmental and have a lot to say about another woman. So I do feel the pressure, but it's little. You know, it's kind of more so just checking myself. How am I portraying myself? What is my reputation? Now that you've mentioned Pitbull.
It's a good one. It's not bad. I listen to Pitbull.
I'm just kidding. And so I realize that's there. So I want to be aware of that, but I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be myself. There's not like a pastor's wife's box that I'm trying to fit in. Yeah. I can't help but be real and be myself. So,
which is good.
This is what you get.
I feel like also Ricky does that too.
Yes.
Just himself. And regarding like the future of City Post, do you like you said earlier, no matter how big we get, you still like to do the birthdays? Do you feel yourself like your role getting bigger here, or kind of just staying, or feel like you're gonna step back at all?
Where I picture myself always being with the ladies of the church. Yes, I want to minister to them, but they minister so much to me. They are my support group as well. So I cherish the relationship there. So I would hope that I am always in women's ministry. As we grow, I hope that we can all take on more roles and spread out those roles. Yeah. So I like any behind the scenes work that I'm doing. I would hope, hey, somebody else can come and take that off my plate because there's always something to do in the church. So hopefully as we grow, more and more people are taking on the various roles that are needed.
And that being said, that reminds me, you also have to prep for the women's Bible studies, right?
Yes.
So,
which I love.
You and Ricky's, we kind of look the same, preparing for... Yeah.
Well, that's sweet of you to say San Juan. I feel like preparing for a sermon is like writing a research paper, and I would take forever. Like I would need a whole semester to prepare for one sermon. Yeah. So I don't, Ricky and any other pastor, I don't know how they do it.
I don't see how he does either, because I also saw Will doing it.
Yes.
That was insane. And also I get the papers from Ricky to see. And it's a whole 3-page essay.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes when I'm not even reading that, I'm just gonna skim through it.
That's true.
But with the Bible studies, I also feel like there's a lot come behind that from going to them for the both young adults and the men's. It seems like they're really well prepared. And
yes.
What do you do to really prepare for the women's Bible study?
Great question. So my teacher is Dr. Rachel Cotto, who is over the children at City Post. She has taught me literally in her training or just by watching her how to lead a Bible study, how to lead a Sunday school. And it's all about the joy of discovery. And she will tell you that too, that you, especially in a small group setting, like a Bible study, you're not there to lecture. You're there to guide people in finding out the information for themselves. So I've prepared Bible studies for whether it's youth or grown-ups for several years, and so I've kind of got some things in my back pocket that I like to pull out and do as far as different ways of presenting the information and then finding out the information. But it definitely starts with the scripture, whatever text in scripture we are studying that week. So reading through that, getting that in my mind early in the week so that I can meditate on it. And then from there, usually there's a curriculum. We've been using Right Now Media in their curriculum and their videos. So I can check out the curriculum and see what additional information, what explanations I can grab from there that explain the text, what group discussion questions they have. So the curriculum will usually be 8 pages long, and it's too long for one study, but it just gives you choices of what you want to grab from. And so it's different each week what activity we do, last time the women met, we were in Romans 13, and we were learning about that we should respect authority. The government in place is as God intended it. So someone's in leadership, God put them in leadership. Respect the laws of the land. So our icebreaker question was, okay, everybody, you have 2 note cards. You need to write down 2 laws you have broken. 2 government laws, 2 laws of the state, 2 national laws that you have broken. And we're going to put them in a mush pot, and we're going to read them, and we're going to guess who it belongs to. So that's always so fun to take a concept in the lesson and get some dirt on everybody, including myself.
Yeah, mine would have been jaywalking and speeding. Those were my 2 main ones in the 6.
Well, Lauren in the Bible study, she would have said, San Juan, you don't say any lame ones that everybody's done. But this does not have to be a time for you to confess.
Yeah,
but
no, not at all.
Our ladies, we don't want that light stuff. We want the real stuff.
Yeah, of course. Well, with all this, is there any like learning curves you had to learn or go through?
Ooh, that's a good question. Any learning curves? Flexibility. So being flexible with the way that I think things should be. I grew up in a very traditional religious background in the Methodist Church, in the traditional service, versus the contemporary wasn't even out yet. So things are definitely more easy, casual, laid back here at City Post, which I like and which I think is easier for most people and definitely easier for a non-believer to walk into. But as far as learning curves, basically just jumping in with whatever needs to be done. Switching from youth ministry to women's ministry. And I'm up for that. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how we also learn here. For me, doing the media and AV stuff.
Yes.
I had a lot of mistakes and learning curves, but has there ever been a couple mistakes? I know I asked Ricky this too, that it's hard to reflect on.
So some little mistakes I will make will be assuming something is okay with Ricky and it's not.
Same here.
As far as like plans that I will make for the ladies at the church or this and that, not a huge like church decision, but remembering that he is the pastor. He's not just my husband. So that whereas you may not check with your husband on doing this or that, you need to check with the pastor if it's okay. Like me being stubborn, me being so confident in my plans and my ideas that I'm not checking with him. So the only trouble with that is just him saying, well, Rachel, no, that's not the best idea.
Yeah.
There's not any huge consequences, but there is like no consequences between me and him, but it just reminds me that we need to communicate. We need to be unified in the way the church is run, the decisions that are made, the plans and activities, that it needs to all line up and not just be my idea or my vision, but the vision of the whole church.
Yeah, and have you ever had an idea that you thought that was really good and it got shut down? 'Cause I know I had a couple. I was like,
oh, did you? They were struck down by Pastor Ricky?
Yeah, they were struck down.
Well, any ideas I have that get struck down, it usually involves spending money.
Okay.
So, Ricky, I would like to buy this. I'd like to order this food for the women's Bible study. And we're like, no, that's too much money.
Well, you have Monica. She's like the best cook.
Yes, but we can't take advantage of her every Thursday.
I guess. That
But-
makes sense. I get it. It's understandable. But one last thing. I know this is a little weird.
Uh-oh.
For Ricky not being here, and you're talking.
He's
about,
not even in the room.
Yeah. So, is there anything you would like to say to him before we end this?
That I would like to say to Ricky. Oh, that's so sweet, San Juan. I would like to say to Ricky that I cannot believe I'm married to you. I am so proud of you and all that you are doing. When I think of you, the first thing that comes to my mind is I have no idea how you're doing all of this. How are you leading a church, preaching every Sunday, loving your congregation so well, and working full-time in a crazy job that's very demanding of you, and caring for me and caring for our girls. I'm amazed that you do it all, and you do it so calmly and patiently. And also, Ricky, I know you. I've known you for a long time. I know who you are. I know what you're like. And when I hear you preaching on Sunday mornings, I know it's the Holy Spirit preaching through you, because you and me, we're just like everybody else. We're just regular people. But the way that you phrase things during your sermons, the way that you teach, the way that you explain, the confidence that you have, it's just obvious that it's the Holy Spirit in you and speaking through you. So thank you for loving and serving the Lord so well, because it makes a huge difference for me and our girls. It makes a huge difference for City Post Church. And it ends up making a huge difference to the city and to the world, because you are so eager for everyone to know the gospel. I love you.
That was awesome. That was great. Well, thank you for spending time and coming on here.
Well, thank you for having me, San Juan. This is my first ever podcast. I feel so fancy.
Yeah, me too. It's insane how I'm doing this. But thank you for everybody listening. Make sure you check out our socials at City Post Church on everything. And next podcast should be really interesting, because we have our associate pastor, Stephen, and we're talking about Southside culture. So thank you for listening.
Oh, my.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank y'all.